Hello YouTube. Right, whatever I've decided to title this video, I'm not sure yet, but if it's clickbaity, it's not to be clickbait. The whole purpose of this video is anybody who watched the last video, I really needed to listen to this one, because some of the information I give out in that video was wrong, and I also wanted to help me to pass on that information to anyone who's going to need it. So I go into the video, you'll fully understand, but stick with it. I really wanted to listen. Right, so here's the thing. In that last video at Cadwell Park, I was suffering really bad with intercooler temps, and also my coolant was reasonably high. Now, if you watch the last video to the end, you'll see all the things I've been trying to do to improve the airflow and try and get things a bit better, because my intake temps were shocking and I needed to get the coolant down. So I've done the crash bar mods, I've done the fan shroud mod, I've done other things I didn't show you. I bought some foam strip, closed up all the gaps. Actually this type of foam strip, draft excluder, got it from Screwfix, closed up all the gaps everywhere. It's as good as it can ever be, that airflow coming through the front end of that car with the setup that I've got. I did all that. Yesterday I went out and done some testing, and I'm monitoring on my Lufi gauge, and coolant temps are looking really good. They're lower. I can't get too low because of my thermostat, but I was seeing around 90 degrees, which is not normal for the thermostat I got. And my brother's done the fan shroud mod. His car at Cadwell, remember, was getting really hot on the coolant, but he was missing everything to do with ducting, right? So on the front of the car, you've got like a curved shroud that fits to direct air down to the radiator. You've also got the lower tray that guides the air in at the bottom. So he was missing all of that, so I got hold of them parts for him, thanks to Tristan at Bentley Salvage. So shout out for you, top man, great for Fiesta parts. He got all them parts. David put them on his car, cut the fan shroud, and he was seeing around about 10 degrees coolant drop compared to what he was getting before. Now he's a recall car with a lower thermostat. He was seeing as low as high 70 degrees just cruising around. 10 degrees less than what he's ever seen before. Coolant wise, it was working amazing. On my car, I was happy with it. Test drives were brilliant. Coolant's looking much better. How it's going to perform on track, we don't know. But that's not the purpose of this video. What I noticed was, on a hard third and fourth gear pull, my intake temps were skyrocketing. I was doing an uphill pull, long uphill pull, and it was soaring up to like 33 degrees. I thought my intercooler is just, I thought it's something wrong with my intercooler. This is just ridiculous. So David was over, we went out in his car. As I say, his coolant temps are brilliant. His intake temps are doing exactly the same, soaring. On the same pull, same load, same run. So I started to think, I don't know what else I can do. This intercooler is just bad. So what I set about doing was, I thought, well, the only option I've got now is to move the water meth sensor. Now I'm going to use water injection. I'm going to move it to the end of the intercooler. I'm going to put it into the end tank, so the sensor, the tip sensor, can see the temperature change. So when I'm squirting, we'll get lower temps, the ECU will see it, and it'll make up for what the deficit and lack is in the intercooler. That was the plan. So I did all that, got it finished late last night. I went out and done some testing, same road, same type of pulls. I tested with the water off and water on. Air temp was around about 16 degrees, it had cooled down a bit last night. So I did the pull, water off, the intake temps went up to 28 degrees. So I'm thinking, well, fair enough now, put the old water on, this is going to just shoot down. So I puts the water on, I was blown away because the intake temps skyrocketed. It went the opposite way. My intake temps went up to 36, just like that, with water on. And I repeated that a few times, water on and off, and I thought something is badly wrong. This shouldn't be happening. So I went through a scenario of thinking, well, when water gets on the temperature tip sensor, I've been reading about that, and what can happen if you get water on it, it can give a false reading. It can either blocks up the sensor, or it basically makes the temperatures appear a lot higher than they are. So I thought, well, I'm squirting too much water. I tried getting into the lowest I could. I had it coming in as late as I tried everything. Temperatures were skyrocketing. So I was at a loss. I thought something's really wrong, and I was really disheartened. There's nothing more that I can do. So with that, I thought, right, I was doing all of this testing based off the Lufi gauge, and now I then thought, right, I'm gonna have to relate this to force scan. So I went and got force scanned and some proper logging. When I done log, my air charge temp, which is after the intercooler, 16 degrees. It was the same as ambient with water off. My air intake temps on the force scan was 28, I think, off memory, right, with water off. So I thought, well, that's odd. I thought the Lufi's are reading wrong. I needed to stick with me because I'm going to explain about that now. Put water on. Air charge temps were very similar. It was actually right at the top end. It went to 17 degrees, so it went one higher than ambient, but the air intake temps went up 34 degrees. So I thought, that Lufi gauge is not reading the temps after the intercooler. Now this needs a bit of explaining, right? Because originally I thought when I had the Lufi gauge, first of all, it was reading the MAF temps of your actual air filter intake. I think some other people thought the same, and that's exactly what I thought. So there was a bit of a debate going on Facebook, and what I did was I unplugged the MAF, because I thought I want to find out what sensor's reading there. So I was unplugging sensors and seeing which one would turn off the gauge, so I could find out which one is the intake temp coming from. What I'll do is I'll put in that video now that I put out on Facebook for others to see. Right, and I've been trying to work out, where does the Lufi take its intake air temp from? As you can see, it's showing -40, and that's because I unplugged the tip sensor down here. So I'm going to put that back in. Engine auto change should run a bit better, but Lufi is now reading the proper intake air temp. So it takes this reading from the tip sensor. So as you can see from that, that's why I thought that the Lufi gauge was reading intake temps as air charge temp. When I was unplugging the tip sensor, which is the throttle inlet position boost, it's basically a map sensor, but it's pre-inlet boost sensor, and it's also got the temperature sensor. When I unplugged it, the Lufi gauge was throwing a spaz, and I thought, well, it's got to be reading from that sensor, so it's got to be reading air charge temp, even though it's saying intake temp. And I've gone with that thought for a while, and I've passed that information on to people. So here's the thing, it's not actually reading from that sensor, it is your air filter temp sensor. So I need you to help me pass that information on to anyone who has a Lufi, anyone who's reading temps based on that. It is not reading the temps after your intercooler. Help me out in getting that information out there, because I don't want anyone to be misled on what I've previously said. Here comes the confusing bit, which just blows my mind on why this is happening, right? If I'm squirting water where I am on the end tank of the intercooler and it's coming before that tip sensor, why is that making the MAF sensor readings skyrocket? That bends my brain, and as I've spoke to, there is some correlation between the tip sensor and the MAF sensor. So even though the Lufi is reading intake temps, it's what the MAF is giving out, there's some link, and it's obviously happening in the ECU, stuff I don't know and I don't understand, but there's some link between them two sensors, because that's why when I unplugged the tip sensor, the intake reading went off. So they work in between each other, and the reason I think that when I squirted water and it was hitting that sensor and it was making the intake temp skyrocket was it was a false reading. The intake temps are not really skyrocketing because nothing's changing at the MAF end. Water's building up on that sensor, and obviously some connection they have between each other is throwing a false reading to the MAF. I don't understand it. I don't. And I spoke to Richard Morse. He's pretty much well clued up on a Fiesta, and he doesn't get it. He called it impossible, and I would say it's impossible, but it's repeatable. And I've done test after test after test. there's some connection between that tip sensor and the MAF. What happens at the tip affects the reading at the MAF. I don't get it. So that's the important thing I wanted to take from this video. If you're using a Lufi gauge, it is not giving you your air charge temp. It's doing exactly what it says. It's giving you your air intake temps. So what I've taken from this is there's nothing wrong at the moment with my air charge temps. I've got all our work last night moving the methanol sensor to the end tank of the intercooler, and I didn't need to do it. Now, because I think that the sensor's getting wet, it's going to damage it, which is what I've told you before why I didn't put it there in the first place. So now it's got to go back. So I'm going to put it back. We're going to take 4 scan readings, and I'm going to find out my actual air charge temp, which, like when I tested last night, we were ambient without using the water injection anyway. So it's been a long old process, but I think as for air charge temps, just on a pull like that, it was fine. I think on a hard track use, the water injection is still going to come in handy. I've seen a difference in my ignition timing, so we know it's cooling in the chamber. I'm going to keep it because it's still a massive safety net for bad fuel and detonation. Even if my intercooler is working absolutely amazing and my temps are brilliant, which is great, I'm over the moon with that, because I seriously started to doubt that intercooler based off them readings, and I was getting worried. The water injection is going to give me that safety net I need, so it's not going. I'm not disappointed in any way. This is actually a win. I'm actually happy now because I know that my airflow is working better. We just need to transfer that to track. So hopefully you've understood this. Please help me get the message out there, because I know there's a lot of people who bought the gauges off me and they're thinking they're reading intercooler temps, and it's actually reading in intake temps, which is still a valuable thing. I'm also getting quite high intake temps, so I'm starting to think now, is the ITG that good? Maybe it's something I need to look at changing, so that might happen in future. But for now, that's my full update. Enjoy your day. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one, and bye.